The arena roared like thunder. Aliens from hundreds of worlds sat in high metal seats, shouting, laughing, and betting. Bright lights shone down on the battlefield below, a round pit covered in red dust and old bloodstains. This was the galactic arena, where warriors fought for honor, power, and survival. From the far gate, the champion walked in. His name was Korak, a giant warrior from the planet Grakthal. His thick green skin was marked with scars. His arms were the size of tree trunks, and his black armor was dented from many past battles. Korak had never lost. 37 fights, 37 wins. Today, he would face a new challenger, and the crowd laughed when they saw who it was. The second gate opened, and out walked a human. He looked small, weak, no armor, just plain clothes and calm eyes. His name was Jackson Cole. Korak stared, confused. "This is a joke," he growled. "This human won't last 1 minute." In the royal box above, the arena master smirked. "Let it begin." The braid horn sounded. The gates slammed shut behind both fighters. The crowd leaned forward. Korak raised his fists. "I'll break you quickly, human." Jackson said nothing. He didn't even lift his hands. He just watched, calm, like a man waiting for a bus, not a beast twice his size. Then Korak rushed forward. He moved fast for someone so big, his heavy steps shaking the ground. He swung his massive fist straight at Jackson's head, and missed. Jackson ducked smoothly, like he saw it coming before it started. Korak blinked. The crowd paused. That was strange. Korak growled and swung again, a second miss. Then a third. Jackson still hadn't attacked. He only dodged, light on his feet like a dancer. Korak was now angry. "Stop running, coward." He charged again, this time faster. He aimed for Jackson's chest. Jackson sidestepped, grabbed Korak's wrist midair, twisted, and let go. Korak stumbled forward and nearly fell. The move was fast, clean, no force, just skill. From the viewing chamber, a young alien officer turned to her commander. "Sir, that human? He's trained." The commander frowned. "No enhancements, no armor, just a human. This doesn't make sense." Back in the arena, Korak screamed and rushed again, trying to crush Jackson with both fists. This time, Jackson moved in closer, too close. In a flash, he jabbed 2 fingers into a nerve under Korak's arm. The big alien froze. His arm dropped for a second. His face twisted in pain. The crowd went silent. That was the first time anyone had touched Korak in a fight without getting broken. Korak stepped back. For the first time, he looked unsure. Jackson still hadn't spoken. He just stared with calm eyes. He wasn't sweating. He wasn't afraid. He wasn't even trying hard. In the crowd, some aliens began whispering. One old warrior said, "This human fights like he's studied every move already." Inside the arena master's box, a tall, cold-looking diplomat from the Galactic Council stood up. "Why is this human here?" he asked. "No idea," the arena master said. "He came with no sponsors, no backing, just a request to fight the champion." "Is he enhanced?" "No. Scans show nothing special, just training." Back in the pit, Korak shouted and slammed his foot down, creating a dust cloud. Then he used the dust as cover and attacked again. This time, Jackson rolled under the attack, used Korak's forward momentum, and tripped him. Korak hit the ground hard. The crowd gasped. He had never fallen before. Jackson stepped back and waited. Korak stood slowly, breathing hard. His pride was cracking. He raised one fist and shouted, "Who are you?" Jackson finally spoke. His voice was quiet, flat, just a man from Earth. And then the horn blew again. The first round was over. Jackson had not thrown a single punch with full force, but he had won that round. Above, the alien commander narrowed his eyes. We underestimated them again. In the shadows of the arena, news crews had already started transmitting. One reporter said live on the feed, "This is the first time in arena history a human is fighting, and it looks like the galaxy was wrong about Earth." Back inside the fighter tunnel, Jackson walked alone. He didn't look proud. He didn't smile. But his eyes told a story, one that would soon echo through the stars. And Korak? He sat in the dust, thinking. For the first time in his life, he felt fear. The arena was silent the next day. Not because it was empty, but because the crowd was confused, worried, curious. The warrior Korak had never fallen before. He was the champion, the beast, the destroyer of worlds. But now, he had a crack in his legend, all because of a human. And that human, Jackson Cole, was standing in the training hall alone. He moved slowly, practicing. No music, no machines, just his hands, his feet, and silence. A small alien child watched him from a distance. She whispered to her mother, "Is he magic?" "No, child," the mother said. "He's human." Up in the control room, the arena master watched Jackson on the screen. "He's dangerous," said Commander Vor, the tall alien with silver skin and sharp eyes. The arena master shook his head. He didn't even attack properly. "That's what makes him dangerous." Vor walked toward the glass. "What if this human wins again?" The arena master laughed. "He won't. Round 2 will break him." In the warrior's chamber, Korak sat in front of a steel mirror. He stared at his reflection. His face was swollen. His pride was worse. "How did he do it?" Korak whispered. "He hit harder. He moved faster. He had decades of training and victory. Yet that human moved like water." His commander entered the room. "You must win the second round. The council is watching." "I know," Korak said. "Then crush him. This is not just a fight now. It's politics. If a human wins here..." The words were left hanging in the air. The second round began under darker skies. The crowd was larger now. Not just fans, but spies, officers, ambassadors. Earth was watching too. The announcer's voice boomed across the arena. The undefeated champion, Korak of Grakthal. And the challenger, Jackson Cole of Earth. No cheers for the human, just silence. But Jackson didn't care. He walked into the pit calmly again without armor. Only plain clothes and quiet steps. Korak entered like a storm. He slammed his fists together. His eyes burned. The horn blew. This time, Korak didn't rush. He circled slowly. Jackson waited. "You think you've already won?" Korak growled. "No," Jackson said, "just learning." Korak roared and charged, but suddenly jumped high and swung from above. A surprise move. Jackson dodged, but the edge of the strike clipped his shoulder. The crowd shouted. First it landed. Jackson rolled and stood back up. His arm was bleeding, but he smiled. Korak's eyes narrowed. "Why are you smiling, human?" Jackson wiped the blood with his sleeve. "Because now I know." "Know what?" "How fast you really are." Korak roared again, this time furious. He charged, throwing powerful punches. Jackson blocked, stepped back, twisted, ducked, then finally struck back. A single jab. Right under Korak's jaw. Korak stumbled. The crowd gasped again. Not because of the punch, but because Korak's leg buckled. One small hit. One perfect strike. Korak growled and stood again. His face showed more than pain. It showed doubt. Jackson stood tall now, his breath calm. Then, suddenly, Korak laughed. A deep, cold laugh. "You are good, human," he said, "but you still bleed." "Yes," Jackson replied. "But I heal. You? Don't forget." And then he moved. Fast, silent, and close. He didn't punch hard. He tapped, twisted, moved. Every step broke Korak's balance. Every move confused his rhythm. It wasn't brute strength. It was control. The crowd couldn't understand it. They had seen strong fighters, fast ones, deadly ones, but not like this. This was something else. Discipline. Precision. Earth martial arts. Korak threw another punch. Jackson dropped low, spun, kicked Korak's leg, his injured leg. Korak fell again. Twice now. He rolled, got up, and screamed. His pride was bleeding more than his body. The horn blew. Round 2 was over. Again, no winner declared. But the audience already knew. Something had changed. Not just in the arena. In the galaxy. In a distant galactic council room, leaders from many worlds sat in silence. One of them, a cold-faced alien general, said, "We always thought humans were emotional, weak." Another replied, he was calm, focused, almost machine-like. The general nodded. This Jackson Cole is not just a fighter. He is a message. From Earth. A warning. Back in his rest room, Jackson looked at his bruised arm. He placed ice on it, closed his eyes, and smiled again. Not because he had hurt Korak, but because now they were all watching. And that was the real beginning. The arena had never felt like this before. Something had changed. The noise was still loud, but it was different now. Not celebration, not anger. It was tension. Whispers filled the halls. "Did you see that human?" He dropped Korak. Twice. He didn't even use weapons. Jackson Cole sat in the locker room, his shoulder bandaged, His hands were shaking, but not from fear. From control? He had trained all his life for moments like these, except this moment was far beyond what he imagined. He wasn't fighting in a dojo. He was fighting in the deadliest arena in the galaxy, against creatures bred for war. But he wasn't afraid. In a tall spire above the arena council sat in shadows. The chairman, a wide-eyed alien with skin like stone, slammed his hand on the table. "This is unacceptable. A human cannot defeat our champion." "He hasn't defeated him yet," another said. "Twice. Twice he dropped him. That's already too much." The room fell quiet. Then one voice spoke from the end of the table, calm, cold. "If the human wins," the voice said, "Earth will rise. They will no longer be seen as prey, but as predators." The council looked at each other. The fear had already begun. Not fear of Jackson. Fear of what came next. In the city surrounding the arena, things were changing too. Shops began selling Earth flags. Children wore fake Earth clothes, plain shirts like Jackson's. Old warriors sat and argued. "They fight dirty," said one. "No," replied another. "They fight smart." Inside a dark bar, two Grakthol officers sat quietly drinking. One of them asked, "Do you think he can win the next round?" The other didn't answer. He simply looked down at his drink and said he already has. Back in the training hall, Jackson was stretching, slow and calm. A voice called out, sharp and familiar. "You think you've made a mark, human?" Jackson looked up. It wasn't Korak. It was Zura the Bonebreaker, a warrior known for killing challengers in under 10 seconds. "I've seen what you did," Zura said, stepping closer. "You're quick, but you bleed just like the rest of us." Jackson stood. "Then why are you here, Zura?" Curious. Zura growled, "No, I came to warn you. If Korak fails, I'll be next, and I don't play with my food." Jackson didn't blink. "Ben, don't choke on it." Zura's eyes narrowed, but she turned and walked away, because even she had doubt now. That night, Korak trained harder than ever. His leg was still weak, his ribs hurt, but his pride screamed louder than his body. He didn't just want to win the next round. He wanted to crush the human. To remind the galaxy that humans didn't belong in the arena. His trainer entered. "Korak, your leg." "Is fine," Korak shouted, but even he knew it wasn't. Next morning, the arena filled again. Bigger crowd, louder than ever. Everyone had come to see the third round. The round where legends either fall or rise. The announcer spoke. "The third match begins now." Korak marched into the arena like a beast on fire. Jackson walked in quietly again. Still no armor, still no weapon. But this time, his eyes were different. They weren't just focused. They were sharp, as if he could see through time. The horn sounded. Korak rushed in, too fast, too angry. Jackson dodged, sidestepped, spun behind him. One kick, right in the back of the knee. Korak dropped again. The crowd gasped again. Jackson didn't attack while Korak was down. He stepped back, calm. Korak roared and got up, bleeding from the mouth now. "Why won't you finish me?" he shouted. Jackson said nothing, because he didn't need to. He wasn't fighting for glory. He was sending a message. To Korak, to the arena, to the galaxy. He was showing them what real power looked like. Not the kind that screams, the kind that controls. From above, the arena council watched in silence. One of them whispered. They said humans were weak. Another whispered they were wrong. The third said, no, they lied. After the match, Korak fell to one knee. The horn blew. Again, no death. But this time, it was clear. Korak had lost. He didn't speak. He simply stood, leapt out of the arena, and disappeared into the tunnels. Jackson stood in the center. And for the first time, someone in the crowd cheered. Just one voice. Then two. Then a wave of voices. Cheering for the human. For the fighter who didn't roar. Who didn't brag, but made monsters fall. One step at a time. Later that night, a secret message was sent from the arena to the Galactic Council. It read, "The human has won 3 rounds. No deaths, but full dominance. Requesting instructions. Are we to end him quietly, or watch what comes next?" No reply came, just silence, because even the council was afraid. The arena had a problem now. His name was Jackson Cole. He didn't roar, he didn't kill, but he won clean, fast, and smart. The people had started whispering his name with respect. The crowd was no longer there to see him die. They were there to watch and win, and that made the arena masters very nervous. Inside a cold chamber, deep beneath the arena, 5 shadows stood around a glowing table. These were the real rulers of the games. They didn't wear armor. They didn't fight. They controlled. One of them, a tall lizard-like alien named Vesson, slammed his clawed hand on the table. "This human is a virus," he growled. "He's changing the arena." Another, thin and snake-like, hissed, "He must be broken. Not just beaten, broken." The third voice was calm. "Then, let's change the game." "What do you mean?" "No more fair fights, no more one-on-one." "You want to cheat?" "No," the calm voice replied. "I wanted to lose hope." The next morning, Jackson sat in a small room. He had just finished his simple meal, protein cubes and water. He stretched, calm as always. But something felt off. Usually, a guard would come and give him the match schedule. Today, 3 guards came. And with them, a new face. A woman. Human. She was bruised, scared, and silent. Jackson stood up fast. "Who is she?" he demanded. The guards just smiled. "Your next match," one of them said, laughing. "Protect her, or she dies." And just like that, they left. The arena had changed the rules. This time, it wasn't just Jackson in the ring. Now he had to defend someone else, someone weak, someone scared, and everyone was watching to see what he'd do. The announcer shouted, "This is not a fight. It is a test of loyalty, of fear, and of pain. Let the trial of the protector begin." Jackson walked into the arena. The girl, still shaking, stood behind him. Across from them, 2 huge warriors entered. One had chains around his arms. The other had a plasma spear. The crowd fell silent. They didn't know what to expect, but they all leaned forward. This wasn't just another fight. This was personal. Jackson didn't move right away. He looked at the girl, then at the 2 enemies. He spoke softly. "Stay behind me. Don't move." She nodded. The horn blew. The spear warrior ran first. Jackson dodged left, grabbed the chain fighter's arm, and threw him hard into the sand. Then he turned just in time to block the spear with his forearm. Blood ran down, but Jackson didn't stop. He pushed forward, punched the spear out of the alien's hand, and slammed a knee into his chest. But the second fighter got back up and charged at the girl. Jackson saw it and ran. He dived, tackled the attacker just before he reached her. The crowd roared. Jackson didn't care. He was fighting for more than a win now. He was fighting for her life, and maybe for what was left of his own soul. Back in the control room, Vesson cursed. "He's still holding on." Another master said, "Send in the beasts." Vesson smiled. "Yes, let's see how he handles monsters." Back in the arena, Jackson finally knocked out both fighters. He was tired, bleeding, breathing heavy, but the horn didn't sound. Instead, a new gate opened, and 2 creatures walked in, 4-legged beasts with armored skin and glowing eyes. The announcer laughed. "The fight isn't over. Let's see if the protector can face the wild." Jackson stood in front of the girl again. His hands were shaking, not from fear, but from pain. He whispered, "Stay down. Cover your head." The beasts roared, then charged. Jackson grabbed a broken spear, rolled to the side, and stabbed one in the neck. It screeched, but didn't die. The other beast jumped at him. Jackson ducked, grabbed sand, and threw it in its eyes. It screamed, blind for a moment. He jumped onto its back and stabbed again. Once. Twice, until it fell. The crowd was silent. Then 1 voice cheered, then 2, then 100. They weren't just watching a fight anymore. They were watching hope. When it was all over, the horn finally sounded. Jackson stood tall, breathing hard. The girl was alive. The beasts were dead, and the arena had lost control. Later that night, in the dark chambers below, Vesson shouted, "It didn't work." Another master replied, "He's too strong." The calm voice spoke again, low and sharp. "No, he's not too strong, we're just using the wrong weapon." Vesson looked confused. "What do you mean?" The voice leaned forward. "We must not hurt him." A pause. "We must make him hurt himself." Far away, across the galaxy, an old transmission was found in a human shipwreck. It showed a young girl, laughing, Jackson's sister. The arena masters smiled. They had found the key. And the next match would not be about fighting at all. It would be about breaking Jackson's heart. Jackson Cole sat alone in his cell. His body was bruised, muscles sore, and his right arm was bandaged, but his eyes still burned with fire. He had protected the girl. He had beaten the beasts. But he knew the arena wasn't finished with him. They were planning something worse. And he was right. In the dark control room, the arena masters gathered again. Besson hissed, "The crowd loves him now. This is dangerous. He's becoming a symbol." The calm voice replied, "Then let's remind them, and him, that he is still a prisoner." The others nodded. "We show him something from his past, something to break him." Besson asked, "You mean the video?" "Yes, let's begin." That evening, Jackson's cell lights flickered. Then the wall turned into a screen. He stood slowly, confused. Then he saw her. A young girl, brown hair, big smile. She laughed and waved at the camera. "Hi, Jack, I missed you. When you come back from space, I want pancakes." Jackson froze. His legs gave out. He dropped to his knees. That voice, that smile, it was his little sister, Emily. The video ended. Then a new voice came from the speakers, cold and cruel. "You remember her, don't you? She waited for you, but your ship never came back." Jackson clenched his fists. The voice continued, "Do you know what happened to her, Jackson?" Silence. "We do." The wall turned dark again. And Jackson screamed, not in anger, but in pain. The next morning, the arena match was different. No enemy was waiting. Instead, there was a chair in the center of the arena. On it sat a thin alien with a mind-reader device. The crowd was confused. The announcer spoke. "Today is not a battle of strength. It is a battle of memory, a test of the mind." The alien placed the device on Jackson's head. Jackson tried to resist, but the guards held him down. Images filled the arena sky. His past, his family, his laughter, his dreams, his loss. Everyone saw it. They saw him crying when his ship crashed. They saw him holding a photo of his sister. They saw his heart break again and again. The crowd was silent. Some looked away. Even some of the aliens felt sorry. But the arena masters smiled. They thought they had done it. They thought Jackson was broken, but they were wrong. Later that night, alone in his cell, Jackson didn't sleep. He sat still, silent. Not because he was broken, but because something inside him had changed. He looked at the wall, at the empty screen. He whispered, "You used her against me. You think I'm weak now." He stood up slowly. His voice became cold, focused. "But you've made a mistake. I don't fight to survive anymore." He walked to the door and pressed his hand on it. "I fight to win." And in that moment, Jackson Cole became more than a fighter. He became a threat, not just to the champions, but to the entire arena system. The next day, something strange happened. One of the arena guards, a quiet one named Kale, a lizard-like alien, left a small note under Jackson's meal tray. It had only 4 words. "We are with you." Jackson read it twice. Then he smiled. For the first time since his capture, he wasn't alone. Hope had started to spread, even inside the arena, even among the guards, and the masters felt it too. So they prepared something final, something deadly. If they couldn't break the human's heart, they would now try to break his body once and for all. In the deep chambers below, they'd brought in a cage. Inside it was something massive, a creature not born in any known world. Covered in metal, eyes red with rage, it had no name, only a number. Subject 0. The calm voice smiled. "Let's see the human beat this." Far above, in his dark cell, Jackson looked out through the small window at the arena. He could feel it. The final challenge was coming, and he was ready. Because pain no longer scared him. Loss no longer controlled him. He had faced the worst they could give, and he was still standing. But now, he was no longer just a man. He was a symbol, a weapon. And in the heart of the arena, revolution had begun. The arena was full, every seat taken, every screen in the galaxy showing one match. The crowd didn't cheer today. They were waiting. They could feel it. This wasn't just another fight. This was the last one. And they all came to see one thing. Would the human survive? In the preparation room, Jackson stood still. No armor, no weapons. Just his own body, scored, bruised, but still strong. A voice came through the speaker. "You'd surprise us, human, but this time you won't walk out." He didn't answer. He didn't need to. He just took a deep breath and stepped into the arena. The doors opened, and the crowd gasped. The beast stepped in from the other side. Subject Zero. It was 10 feet tall. Black metal armor covered its body. Its claws dripped acid. Its mouth had no lips, just sharp, grinding teeth. And its eyes glowed red. It wasn't alive in the normal way. It was a weapon, created to kill anything, even fear itself. The gates slammed shut. There was no way out now. Jackson raised his fists. He whispered, "Let's finish this." The beast attacked first. It charged like a storm. The ground shook under its feet. Jackson rolled aside, barely escaping the first strike. The claw hit the wall and crushed stone like paper. Jackson ran, not because he was scared, but because he needed to think. He needed a plan. He couldn't fight this thing with brute strength. He had to be smart. He dodged, ducked, rolled. Each time, the beast got angrier, faster. It slashed, smashed, screamed, and one claw finally hit Jackson's shoulder. He flew across the arena. Blood spilled on the floor. The crowd gasped. He didn't get up. For a moment, he didn't move. The beast started walking toward him, slow, sure. The masters smiled. They thought it was over. But then, Jackson stood. His shoulder was dislocated. But his eyes were burning again. "You're strong," he said, "but I face worse than you." He took a deep breath and popped his shoulder back in. The sound echoed across the arena. Then he ran straight at the beast. Jackson didn't attack the beast. He attacked the chains on its armor. He pulled one loose, jumped, wrapped it around its arm, tightened it, then used the beast's own strength to pull itself down. It crashed. Jackson leaped, slamming his elbow into its eye. Metal cracked. The beast howled. But it wasn't done. It grabbed Jackson, slammed him into the wall. Again. Again. The arena walls cracked. Blood poured from Jackson's nose. His ribs broke, but he wouldn't give up. He bit the beast's arm. He pulled a metal spike from its armor and stabbed it deep into the creature's side. Sparks flew. Smoke hissed. The beast screamed, a terrible, broken sound. And then, it fell. The arena was silent. Jackson stood over it, covered in blood, sweat, and pain. But he stood, alive. The masters stared in shock. This wasn't supposed to happen. No one had ever survived Subject Zero. No one was supposed to win. But the human had done it. And now, the crowd stood. They began to cheer. Not like before. This was louder. Stronger. Different. They weren't cheering for a fighter. They were cheering for a hero. And far above, in the dark corners of the arena, resistance was growing. Guards whispered. Civilians talked. Some even cried, because they saw what had happened. They saw a single man stand against everything, and win. Later, back in his cell, Jackson lay on the floor. His body was broken, but his heart was full. He had survived the final beast, but he knew the real fight was just beginning. Not inside the arena, but outside it. Because now the people had seen something they couldn't forget. That humans were not weak. That one man's courage could light a fire in a million souls. That hope was real. And in the darkness of space, that hope had a name. Jackson Cole. The crowd was on fire. Jackson Cole stood in the center of the arena, breathing heavily, bloodied but unbroken. The last battle was over. The beast, Subject Zero, was lying in pieces behind him. But the fight wasn't finished. Not yet. The arena masters were watching from their high balcony, their faces twisted in disbelief. They thought they controlled everything. They thought they could break the human spirit. But Jackson had shown them the truth. Humans never break. A loud voice echoed through the arena. The human has won. But there is no victory in the arena. There is only death. The masters didn't speak much after that. They were scared. Scared of Jackson. Scared of what he had done. Scared of the power he had sparked. And they had a plan. A final plan to make sure nothing would ever change. Jackson's breathing slowed as the guards entered the arena. He could see their faces, no longer filled with confidence, but with fear. They had seen what he could do. They had seen what he had become. "Time's up, human," one of them said. Jackson didn't answer. He just looked at them. He was done playing their game. Far above in the control room, the arena masters had begun the countdown. It was time for their final move. But Jackson knew. He could feel it. They weren't in control anymore. In the shadows of the crowd, the resistance had been growing. And when Jackson had beaten Subject Zero, they had acted. They had stolen control of the arena's systems. They had hacked into the weapons. They had planned this moment. Without warning, the arena floor began to shake. Lights flickered. The walls cracked. Then, explosions. The arena masters didn't understand. They tried to stop it. They tried to take control back. But they were too late. Jackson smiled. This was the beginning of the end. The crowd roared as the resistance fighters rushed into the arena. Guards tried to stop them, but the fighters were too many, too strong. They had come to free Jackson. They had come to destroy the arena. And now they were doing it. The ground shook once more. This time, it wasn't just explosions. This time, it was the arena collapsing. Jackson stood tall. He turned to face the arena masters for the last time. They were running now, trying to escape, but it was useless. The arena had already begun to fall apart. In the chaos, Jackson saw a familiar face. Kale, the guard who had left in the note. Kale was holding a detonator, the final trigger. "It's over," Kale said, looking at Jackson. Jackson nodded. He had known it was coming. This was the moment they would either win or die together. "I never wanted this war," Jackson said, voice steady. "But now, we're free." Kale's eyes burned with the same fire that Jackson had felt the day he first stepped into the arena. The detonator clicked, and the arena exploded. The shockwave echoed across the galaxy. For those watching in space, the sight was unimaginable. The arena, the place where warriors fought, where lives were thrown away for entertainment, was now in ruins. The signal was lost, the feed cut off. For a moment, everything was silent. And then the world changed. Jackson Cole stood among the wreckage. The fighters, the resistance, the freed prisoners, all around him. They had won. The arena was gone. But they knew this was just the beginning. The battle for freedom wasn't over. The war for the galaxy was just beginning. But now they had a leader. They had hope, and they had each other. And that was enough. Far above, in the stars, the news spread. The arena, once thought to be untouchable, was no more. And in its place, a new hope was born, a new movement, led by the one man who had stood against it all, Jackson Cole, the human, the symbol of everything the universe had misunderstood. And as the stars burned bright, the future was clear. Humanity wasn't weak. Humanity was unstoppable. The screen fades to black, and the voice of the announcer echoes as if from the past. They said humans were weak. They believed it. Until the arena proved otherwise. The future was no longer in the hands of the arena masters. It was in the hands of the human, and the galaxy would never be the same.